Motion by Jeff, seconded by Nathan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, 5-0. Next item is discussion and possible action to approve the claims dated June 14th, 2021 in the amount of $537,000, $79.44.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Scott. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, 5-0. The next item is review the variances granted by the Muscatine County Board of Adjustment, June 4th, 2021.
Eric's on
Is that
vacation,
something Eric was gonna do? Okay.
there was a memo included in your packet
Yeah.
Yep.
that explained it, along with some other materials. And the only thing I would have to add to that is I got an email from Jim Barry, who's also out of town and couldn't be here today. He stated that he was surprised to see that the board granted the variance but understood their logic. He goes on to say, I generally feel that someone's wishes upon their death are not a reason to deviate from an ordinance, but rather a reason for lawyers to do a better job up front to address these issues. Further, I would have added that if the barn is torn down or otherwise damaged and needs replacement, that it would be placed in accordance with the ordinance setback of 5 feet. He said, it's not a huge issue, but I am a bit concerned about a precedent it sets for the next case.
Yeah, I read through the discussions and all that, and while in this case, I understand the logic and I'm okay with it, I would like the board to consider remanding it back and requesting that they add that as a contingency to that approval, that if that barn is ever, or those are ever torn down, that they're brought to current now, and maybe that's a given, that if you tear something down and build it back, you have to, but, you know, you see this kind of happen, we've seen it, you know, when you saw the tornado come through Muscatine, when you had all those houses that didn't meet setback requirements and stuff, and that became a big fight. And I just would wanna make sure that everybody understands that if this variance is allowed, it is a variance, and then when it comes back, if it were to be destroyed, it would need to be moved to a proper setback.
Well, why wouldn't that already be a set standard though? Why would we need to send it back for that?
Well,
It doesn't say that.
because it doesn't say it in the
Yeah,
variance.
unfortunately.
We've issued them a variance.
Yeah, I mean, so, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, there was there's a will or a trust that after the individual passed away, their wishes were that this land be subdivided, and the way they're drawing the subdivision places that one of the structures within the setback limit. And that's what Jim, I think, was talking about, and that makes a lot of sense to me, you know, we understand why, you know, again, the logic, but I completely agree with Jeff. I think just to avoid setting a precedent, just, you know, we don't want someone to say, you know, mom or dad's will said this is what we're gonna do, so we're gonna do it. Well, not if it violates the law. And, you know, so that's the province of the Board of Adjustment to grant these variances here, but I completely think it should be made clear that it's a one-time special deal.
And that if they're removed,
Yeah.
then when they're put back, they would need to be current code.
So that's probably the only language you're asking.
Right, that's all I'm asking,
Yeah. Not
I'm
change
okay
their
with the
decision.
variance, and I agree with that, and it shouldn't be anything onerous on the family, I would think the Board of Adjustment should consider doing
The
that.
family shouldn't even have to do
So-
anything.
Yeah,
So then would we need to just then request that we send that back for them
I
to
think
add
we
that
would
language?
Remand with
You
those
would
instructions.
remand it to the Board of Adjustment. I would send it with an explanation about why you remanded it, and then the Board of Adjustment would consider it and either amend their variance to include that language, or decline to amend their variance.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, so I guess that's probably, any other discussion from you guys?
so what I need to make a motion to do?
Yes.
I would make a motion that we remand that back to the Board of Adjustment, requesting them to consider adding the language that if those structures are moved, that they be put, you know, if they had to be reconstructed, they would be put in accordance to current setback requirements.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Nathan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next item is the items with the county engineer, Keith White. Discussion and possible action to approve various utility permits.
Yeah, good morning. We have one permit this morning from Liberty Communications, West Liberty, Iowa, which is to direct bury a fiber optic cable in the shoulder, basically in section 6 of on Holly Avenue. And this is basically repair. Somebody burned the ditch and the cable must have been still above ground then, so they burned it up before they'd gotten it buried.
Oops. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Doug. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Just a side note, it's not the first time that fiber, lots of times they've got plastic handhole out there in our right of way, and I've seen, you know, ditch burned and that melted and fall in on it, so. Ditch burning can be a problem, and, you know, if you damage fibers though and get held accountable, it's very expensive. So, projects update, Pelling finished seal coating last Friday, and, you know, they're putting a dust control layer on top, so they have a little bit of that to finish up, but they're done. And Denko is back to start crack sealing on the Portland concrete pavements, and that's what's happening in the construction world. And I don't have anything else. Pending your questions.
Keith, I believe it was last year, I don't know if Nathan or somebody had asked you in regards to, looking at yearly costs associated with trash and picking up that your crew is doing.
Yes.
How are we coming along with that? Have we started to count anything? I've been driving around, so I was looking at some of the back roads, and
We have.
there's been quite a bit of trash still thrown out there, and I know that that's probably
Yeah.
something your team ends up doing. How are we 6 months on that, or do you have any data that you could share with us in the next couple months?
I think we have everything tabulated since the time we talked,
Okay.
so we can share it next time or.
Yeah, I'd
whenever
be
you'd like.
interested in how much money, how long a time frame, so we
Yeah.
get, and then I don't think we need a long-term study of it, we can just extrapolate.
I think.
I think
it's-
the only thing the only thing we
varies.
accounted for was the fees we're paying at the tipping station, not all of our time and equipment.
But you'd know how many ton, and you could probably get enough rough idea if you had to remove a ton of stuff from the ditch, how long that might take. We could probably take a wild guess at it.
Yeah, I would say the more typical thing is, Pecco and Doug calls me and says, hey, I saw out here on 180th, there's a TV and a couch. Or, that's near us, so that's probably a bad example. Scott tells me there's one out on York Avenue. And so, and the people that report that, you know, expect, instant service, and to an extent, they usually get it, and, you know, if it's something that it's 2 people to lift, you know, we send a crew out there and pick up the trash out of their front yard or wherever somebody has dumped it out.
Mhm.
It's a regular enough occurrence. Normally you try and save it up locations for rainy days, to go pick it up, but.
Well, I think it's just a matter of looking at how much you got. I mean, I think it seems like during the summer, I see more of it in the ditches. I see more, and I don't know if that's true for every area, but But if you wanna look at something maybe in September or something, timeframe, maybe provide something, I don't know if we need to do it sooner, but I just know that it seems like this seems to be the time a little bit around that, you know, summer, sometimes even some spring cleaning, but
Yeah.
there's a lot more work going on, and it's a little disturbing and also disappointing that people tend to do those types of things in our county.
Right.
It's always worse in the spring and early summer because
Yeah.
there's no longer a spring cleanup situation. Now, I understand that you can call and make an appointment and so on and so
Yeah.
forth for that, but, that seems to be more work than some individuals wish to pursue, and so they choose an alternative method of disposal.
I just would like to get as much data as possible, so if it turns out we look at something and I would like to say early September, maybe
Sure.
fall, the end of fall type frame. That gives you enough time to really get everything that we have and then share with us, and if it doesn't have hours or times of what your staff is, I mean, that's probably good if you could give us an estimate on that, it would be easier for us to add that versus it just being a, whatever they charge, I don't know, it's 35 or 40 bucks a ton now over there at the transfer
60.
station. Is it 60? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, all right, well, regardless of that, let's look at what you have and if it would be good for us just to review some of that. I think that even if they're in some troubled areas, I think that we can probably have some further discussion along that.
Went from 30 to 60 overnight
When was that?
about 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Oh, there you go.
That's the reason a lot of people dump out of the country.
That's exactly why.
For, what's the old physics things? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
Basic physics.
Yeah.
Works with money too.
Usually they don't get very far out of the city limits actually before.
I would say when they,
run it out.
you know, I have property not too far from the transfer station when they started implementing charges for things. Until I put cameras in, I had a lot of problems with tires and things in my lot. So the cameras have helped.
Yeah, but we can't put cameras on county roads.
It'd be a little expensive.
That's the challenge.
We could, but it might be really interesting.
Okay. All right, anybody have anything else for Keith? All right.
Keith, I saw New Era, what are they doing on New Era Road? I saw the closure or well, not closure, but construction warning. Is that a seal coat going out there or
Crack sealing. more
crack
than
sealing?
likely.
Okay.
Keith, I did want to mention to you, I did have an email back and forth from Mr. Roberts over on Lutheran Homes,
Oh.
and I don't think I added that on the list, but I did have a conversation with the sheriff. I think I CC'd you guys in on some
Yep.
of that, and I just asked him to, you know, find out more information to get with you if there's actually more signage that needs to be out there, or just kind of get some feedback with you in regards to possibly some you know, feedback that they would share with us if there needs to be anything addressed. Right now, I'm really asking the sheriff and you guys to just look at it, evaluate what Mr. Roberts'
Yeah, that
comments
came
are.
around, I don't know, what, maybe 2 months ago to myself,
Yeah.
the sheriff, you. I mean, the speed limit's 55.
Yeah.
The speed limit
is
on
till you get
all
to-
secondary roads is 55 unless posted otherwise.
And that's why, again,
And people don't slow down unless they think they're getting a ticket. And that they don't slow down if they don't see the cops there and they can't set their 24/7. So, I mean, I don't know if they come down off that hill faster than,
then that's what,
They
that's
had,
what,
I saw probably 2-3 weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago, somewhere here this spring, they had the sheriff had a trailer
they had the
parked
speed
there with
trailer out
a
there.
speed trap for a week or two, didn't they, Sue? Yeah.
Yep.
So I know that it's a road that they're, you know, they're working.
that's what he shared with us, that, and I said, well, you know, talk to Keith, if you feel you need something more from us, you know, come back with us after you get some information. Right now, I guess I'm just wanting to share with you that,
Right.
that we are reviewing that, but I really wanna look at your input and then with the sheriff's input, because he thinks that maybe, since they took out part of that curve, maybe there's more of a dash down further, faster that may create that.
Sure, it's
You know,
driving
Made
better.
it safer,
You
yeah.
make
Well,
the road better, they
Yeah.
drive fast.
I know, but I mean,
Fast
they still have to
drive
obey the
safe.
law, you know, so I don't know that would-
58.
What's it, 9, you're fine, 10, you're mine.
Yeah, well,
I would venture most people are in that neighborhood, and you're gonna have those that are driving
and what I-
65.
And I think it's more around the fact that that's the Lutheran Homes entrance and exit, and I don't know if they're expecting that to be a slow down, area, but that seems to be the discussion point in that area, and I know that there's a lot of traffic there, but what that's a speed limit, so I don't really know how to also to address it. That's why I'm really kind of relying on you and Sheriff Quinn's input, if there's anything that you guys think that need to be looked at, evaluated, and then if nothing, then just send us back the
I mean,
information.
we would have the authority theoretically to limit that speed more, right, there?
Only
Since
with the
it's a county
speed study.
Really?
Yes,
That's a statutory requirement?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I mean, we could have the DOT do a speed study. I'd be
What's
willing
the
to place
cost
a
in-
wager on
yeah.
what it's going to, you can spend a couple $1,000s, and they're gonna tell you the speed limit's 55.
That's why I'm letting you look at that and then let us know. I'm not trying to jump into that
No,
right
no,
now.
no, but
you know.
I'm kinda trying to answer Nathan's
Yeah.
question
And
there.
I don't know if, maybe it's a question for the sheriff, but do those, when they put those devices out there, do those give any feedback? Do they collect data and give, so somebody can do an offline analysis and say, this is what we're seeing?
Their trailer,
Yeah.
you're asked, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the sign type ones, like you see some in the city that are the solar powered, I highly doubt they collect any
They don't
information.
collect anything, I know that, cause they claim they cost so much money, which I struggle sometimes with that, but yeah, they don't collect anything. The only ones that are collecting are the ones that are actually out on the main posters that are marked.
Yeah.
And they probably, the person that's going to drive in the neighborhood of the speed limit, if they're came down the hill and they see they're going faster, they might slow down. The person that's deciding I'm going 65 or 70, I'm in a hurry, they're not changing.
Well, the sheriff said he was getting some extra patrol there. He was having those comments, looked at. So I just wanted to share with you that I don't think I CC'd you in on that. I just asked him to get with you in regards to feedback, if anything would be needed, or anything would be addressed that we could evaluate then further in the upcoming months. So just wanted to let you know that.
So, tell me if you would, Keith, a little bit about the process. So let's say at some point down the road, we did decide that we want to do, look into a speed study. How all would that work? How long would that take? What would we do?
We request it from the DOT and they do it when they get around to it. Lately with the word COVID, they don't get around to anything in much of a hurry anymore. I mean, we would be lucky, I think, if they did it this summer, but
Yeah.
they might. I mean, we've had this come up before, say on Mulberry, near where I live, and I can just tell you, speed studies look at what people are driving, and they mostly think that's the reasonable and proper speed. And they also look at what's there, and when you've got, just like Mulberry, when you got nothing but a cornfield on one side, not house,
Right.
they're not gonna drop the speed, they're not gonna recommend that it be lowered. That's,
Sure.
and people aren't gonna obey it if you put it there.
Yeah. Just
That's-
curious. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, I don't know if everybody, when they did the studies, when they did the blue zone stuff, a lot of the rework here in Muscatine, and I know there's been a lot of negative about it, but I thought there was somebody, one of their experts came in and did a really nice presentation that talked about all of this. And they basically said, none of the speed stuff works. The only way you slow people down is you put something in front of them that scares them.
Yeah.
So they think they're gonna crash. And then they stop, then they slow down and be more careful. That's why they put those fancy things in medians. That's why they jut stuff out into traffic, is because they want you to be concerned, that's narrow, I might hit something. And then you slow down and drive a more reasonable amount. And I can say I probably see that.
Yeah.
You get a good wide open stretch of road and people just go. And
Well, this is
Regardless of
so
the
you're
speed
saying that Keith did too good of a job on
yeah,
GTA.
yeah.
It's too smooth and now
Should have
we
planted
go
it.
too
He should have
fast.
put a nice tree and a little roundabout in the middle of the bottom of the hill.
All right, sorry for that, sorry. for
Roundabout at Burlington Road would have done everything you want.
that. All right,
Trying to stay on
I'm
track.
sure that the comments would be overwhelmingly positive.
No, do
When I
not,
first-
do not put that into the minutes.
When I first came here and I was in the town of Moscow, and I'm looking at all these potholes, and I'm like, this is horrible potholes. We need to get up here and blade the road, which I sent them up there, and it generated phone call after phone call. What are you doing? This is the only thing that slows them down.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that's disappointing,
That's
but
I know, but
I mean,
It's
so
reality.
again, I think that in this situation, having those conversations, letting the sheriff be
Yeah.
aware of it, I mean,
Sure.
ultimately, you know, those fines are there to help encourage them to slow down, and we can't
Well, and
police
clearly,
everything in that
and
aspect.
clearly that area, you know, the DOT and the county have invested millions of dollars to try to improve safety in that whole area, because we've had some bad accidents there. And so anything we can do to keep it safe, we wanna do that, and ask the public to be respectful of the situation in the area and watch their speed. You know, it can be tough coming down a hill on a good road, it's hard to, sometimes you don't pay attention.
Keith, that reminds me, I had another question from a concerned member of the public about the trimming of the trees along the bypass to allow for viewing of the water tower, right there between Big Mountain. I'm guessing that is nothing that we have anything to do with, is that?
no,
is that correct?
that's
Thank
state
you.
road, and it's in the corporate limits too.
Just thought I'd
We,
make sure of that, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, Keith, thank you so much. We'll be in touch. All right, moving on to the next item, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2021's regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next item is correspondence. Start out with you, Jeff.
We had numerous emails, I don't even remember them all, this, you know, COVID update, we had some, we saw this, stuff on the Lutheran homes, I think Sue has the list now. So I didn't really have anything other, all I will say, I did meet last week with the sheriff and the jail staff. I got a note from Clinton County has, had some issues on mental health, where the reintroduction of people and drugs and meds with them, to make sure they get them, and so I needed to kind of see where our, you know, there's a push, I'm gonna say this, we haven't had the discussion at the board table, but we will, about whether the sheriff and the diversion program should be more involved in getting mental health services for those that are being released from jail when they're on meds, and whether the county should team up and do some kind of a agreement for that. And I just met with them and talked about what the issues they saw. And so what we did make a change a number of months ago is, so when inmates are released and they're under psychiatric care or on meds, they're given a 3-day supply when they leave. And I think the staff felt that that was adequate. Our provider, ACH, is not interested in doing further because they can't see the people, which makes sense. You need to see people that are on these, because these are very powerful medicines. And that I think the belief is that there is an opportunity to get those and have them paid for if they need them. So, and they felt 3 days, because if they got out like on a Memorial Day weekend, then they'd have till Tuesday to get somebody, get to a provider. So I'll probably carry that message back to the regional board. So that was the only other kind of correspondences I've had for a number of the board members sent, and the Clinton County, and so that's it.
So I've had the same basic ones that we all get, the COVID, that conversation with Attorney County Barry regarding the variance. I think we also all got emails from Don Briggs, who's been a proponent of the ATV UTV ordinance. He was at least, I think he was asking about whether we would consider dropping the restrictions, and, you know, I think we kind of, Santos pointed out, built in a kind of a 12-month review period, and I think we'll take a look at that when we've got it. Now, I did have a conversation with the sheriff last week, asking, you know, have we had any specific incidences with the UTV, ATV? He said, not really, no. So, you know, so far so good, and I think that's encouraging. You know, I guess my tendency, at kind of the 6-month point here, is that, you know, there's good reason not to have them on some of our narrower and busier roads. You know, like Stewart Road comes to mind. But, you know, Mr. Briggs did raise the point that bicycles are allowed there, which, you know, I understand, doesn't seem to make sense, but, you know, just looking at the ATV, UTV ordinance, I don't think is a reason necessarily to, absent the data, to remove those restrictions yet, at least without a lot more review. Let's see, we had some discussions with some folks, or some communication regarding Keokuk Avenue. I think that's about it.
Okay, and all I had was just pretty much the same things that we had in regards to what you just mentioned. I think the only other thing too is I shared with you guys that I sent out the 2080 that's being requested by the Muscatine County Landfill Group, and wanting to have you guys review it, look at it, make sure, and I think I CC'd in the county attorney to just see if there's any language or any changes if we haven't made into those. And I know that when we get those 2080s, it's always good to have another set of eyes look at those to make sure if there's anything that we need to be addressing on those. And pretty much I think the same things that you guys all held side eye as well. So,
Yeah, I had the same correspondence you gentlemen have had as well. That's all I had.
I had the same. The only one I did have that the rest of you probably didn't was Jim Meredith is interested in township trustee in his township and wanted some information on how to go about that, and I've already got the answer for him, so.
okay. All right, any committee reports, Doug?
No committee reports, just we did have weekend for the fair this weekend, and it was a huge success. Lefty and the Spinners really helped bring in people. The harness races were double what they were the last time.
Double people in the harnesses? Or?
More horses, no, a lot more audience, and then they had a lot more horses.
Wow.
They raced for almost 4 hours. So it was a real successful weekend.
Good, good. Scott?
I had no committee reports.
Okay. So I had 2 meetings. I had one of them with the city and the school board superintendent, with Naomi Winters as well too, and one of the city council members. And it was really just sharing a little bit of their updates that they had started to get for some of the emergency dollars, and discussions that they were sharing with us in regards to what their intentions are, some of the limits, some of the timing that they're trying to do for some of the COVID, I don't know what the dollar is called, American Rescue Plan, I think is really the name of it only. And just some of the discussions that was interesting to hear from the school. You know, the example that Naomi gave us, they have about $6 million they need to utilize within a year. And some of the
that-
limits,
All of eastern Iowa or the entire community college system in
the
Iowa?
community college system.
Just, okay.
Yeah, and it was just a discussion, and then I shared with them, you know, the challenges that we have in regards to our aspect as well too, is knowing that we're gonna have projects that are gonna be coming up, and the concerns around, you know, contractors, you know, maybe looking at all being utilized in those same fields. And so they also talked about training that had come out recently, and kind of plans and directions how that was going to be used. I had gotten discussion back saying, well, if we had gotten it, and I shared with them that we just had the update last week, that we just got the dollars. So I was under the assumption that Nancy or Sherry or Tybee would be having that training to share with us on how those dollars would be getting used, and what parameters we had to follow through. School had updates that they're looking at, a huge HVAC upgrade that they're looking at for the high school. Kind of an interesting perspective of what they think that some of those COVID dollars could meet. We'd had a discussion with the city and the county, and I shared with them that the potential that we were looking at was knowing that we may have some potential areas of investment in the drainage district for the plans that we have going on over there at the Muscatine County pumping station. They seemed very open to even the city potentially having an input in regards to help as well on that. Then after that, we had a meeting with a different group, had the MPW, some of the Wilton group. It was a little more of a diverse group in regards to that, but some of the similars set up by the GMCCI with Marionette Miller Meeks, and stopped in, and so was asking in regards to how our economy was doing, what was our challenges. Everybody had different pieces. President from the hospital, she had given her input, just looking at how they could possibly get that hospital built. Rich Dreyer from Kent Corp was there as well too, and you know, the challenges that I felt like were just the inflated costs that we've had on lumber, some of the challenges that we've had on resources, and she was really open. Just had a lot of note taking. Was shared that she was looking at wanting to come back and visit, and our housing issue was seemed to be kind of spread across the whole group, that was an immediate need. I threw out, I think we need like 5,000 homes, but that was just my thoughts. and just shared a lot of just input in regards to you know, how do we provide that. I had asked in regards to infrastructure, and if there was any potential that the federal level that we could get infrastructure at the cost that they can, if that would help implement maybe some lower cost for us. Said she would get back with me on that, and that was about the only following other piece that I had. But a very good conversation. I was just happy that I was able to sit down and hear her out. That's all I had. Okay.
On Friday the 11th, we had the 7th Judicial District Correctional Board meeting. Again, part of the conversation is how we're going to use some of these COVID dollars. We had the acceptance and the finalization of the performance evaluation for Waylon McCullough, who is our director, who's, I think, got 40 plus years in the business and has just been doing an incredible job. It's very difficult, as personnel intensive a business as that is, or an operation as that is, running corrections. Did very well during COVID. Yeah, I believe that's all we had.
Okay. Jeff?
I had no major reports.
All right, moving on to item number 9, and items with the administration office. First item is discussion and possible action authorizing the chair to execute the FY 21-22 Iowa Burn Justice Assistant Grant JAG program contract in the amount of $45,333.
Move to approve.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Nathan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. The next item is discussion and possible action to approve resolution 06-14-21-01 in transferring funds from the county attorney's fine collection fund to the general basic fund.
Move to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Jeff, seconded by Scott. This is a roll call vote.
Actually, one thing I'd like to say is I very much appreciate the county attorney taking the initiative here to take monies that are collected by that office and basically use them for the benefit of the entire county. You know, that's not something they necessarily have to do, and that's, you know, just another way in which I think our county attorney's doing a fine job. It just making sure the county serves, all the residents of the county, not just the folks they come into contact with in the criminal justice system.
Jess? Alrighty. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, hearing none. Doug, how do you vote?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
I vote aye. Nathan?
Aye.
And Jeff?
Aye.
Alright.
And just to note that that was $100,000, correct, Jerry?
Nice.
So a pretty significant transfer to the general fund.
Appreciate Jim and his work on that, Ms. T. Okay, next item is, receive information from county employees. Alright, hearing none, we move on to the next item is, receive comments from the general public. Alright, hearing none. Any other items, for the good of the meeting? Alrighty, meeting adjourned.
Kind of.